Man, it's hot today. Oof. Oh, who's calling me? Hello? Yeah, what's up? Yeah? How are my Mortal Ambition boxes coming along? What? What do you mean my boxes are cut by 90%? What the hell? Hold on, I gotta call some people. Hello? Yeah. Hey man, did your pre-orders get cut? 85%? Hold on. Yeah, I'm bridging them in. Hey, Australia, how are your pre-orders looking for Mortal Ambition? Delayed? What do you mean delayed? They're not coming? Where are they coming? Are they flying them in? Hold on, guys. Hold on. I can solve this. Okay, I have friends. I can solve this. Okay, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Gotta make an international call. Yeah. Hey, Taiwan. 你好。哎，怎么样？三国盒子卡片有吗？你们也没有啦？哇，全世界都没有了，我们空了。哦，糟糕。老兄啊，我是要你来帮我 ，OK？ 我们这儿还要吃肉，我们连米饭都吃不了了，大家都饿死了，OK？ 对不起，OK？ It's gonna be a bloodbath. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mark from SolarGames, and today we're going to be talking about a potentially big issue that's happening with Mortal Ambition. Now, Mortal Ambition, of course, is the newest set that's going to be dropping in about a week from today, actually. So very excited. Everyone's looking at, hey, this is going to be great. We have a lot of products coming in, etc. However, this set is supposed to be printed it's supposed to be the biggest printed set, right, so far. 37,000 boxes total for the print run. It should be generally available that people should be able to go to their distributor and just order whenever they want. So stores don't have to pre-order 100 cases. They could just take 10 or whatever, or 5, and then order boxes as they run out. The issue right now is that as of today, this is October 3rd, but I've been kind of following up on this information for about 1 or 2 days now. Majority of what I've seen is across the board, a lot of stores are getting their distribution, getting their allocation for numbers cut for Mortal Ambition. Now, and this cut looks pretty drastic, right? It depends on, again, which store you talk to and which distributor you use. But I mean, across the board, it's looking like a lot of people are getting cut between 50 to 90% of their allocation. Now, there are some stores that are pretty lucky that have, lower cut numbers or none at all. I don't know how they pulled that, but I'm assuming that's also from the potentially a different distributor, etc. Or maybe the information just hasn't gone to them yet. Or maybe it's a smaller distributor who maybe supplies lesser, stores, so they don't have a lot of inventory issue. Anyways, at this point, this is looking kind of weird and sad and potentially problematic, right? Distros, as far as I can tell, also didn't know this was happening. Now, should they have known ahead of times? I'm not sure, right? At this point, what it looks like is distributors didn't know until maybe earlier this week. They realized their numbers are not what they asked for. And then, of course, now the stores, like myself, are now being notified that our numbers are not going to be what we've asked for. It's pretty common, Magic does this too. It's pretty common that a lot of allocations, what you pre-order, does get a 10%, 15% cut is pretty common. 25% cut, though, is usually a little bit rare and does happen. Now, the problem becomes when you cut stores' allocations or pre-orders by 50% to 75%. I've only seen this happen with Magic one time, and it was only for pre-order, so the week after, supply was already kind of ingested, everything's good. So what it currently looks like that is not going to happen. Now, whether there will be a resupply, and it's really about when, we're just not sure right now. I mean, I've heard rumors that it's going to be December, but I mean, that to me is as valuable as, last week my store or my distributor telling me I have, 120 boxes and now being cut down to like 19, right? That's pretty insane. What I've seen also is that we should actually be seeing a more even distribution of Grand Archive products all across America this time around, with, of course, spikes here and there in different locations. I, of course, live in Northern California. It's one of the more populous GA locations. Now, we normally have more stores, which means we also just as a region have more boxes available, but that is not, again, a guarantee. So unfortunately, the way it kind of looks right now is that boxes are somewhat available, maybe not at all available. Who knows what happens? So, and as far as I can tell on the secondary market too, things are being swooped up pretty quickly. Now I am doing some of that swooping, just, full transparency, but that also means basically I'm paying full price. And I'm honestly just doing that so I can fulfill orders for the patrons and for people who have already pre-ordered with me. So more on that later on in this video. And for everyone else who's kind of watching this video who got in this part, my recommendation right now is there are still a lot of stores out there that are selling GA for around that $80 price range. Some are a little higher. I don't see any sealed cases now for anything less than $500. I think they're pushing up to $550. Some are still higher, right? Other stores still have their GA products listed around like $104, whatever, $110. I mean, honestly, that's just because those stores were going to sell for that price anyways. They weren't going to lower it down to, like the map pricing, $75.99, right? So they were always going to be at that price. I suspect they will be picked up last, but if the supply situation is as dire as it looks, and remember, Mortal Ambition is not a small set, it's a big set. It's just like Dawn of Ash or ALC, Alchemical Revolution. And there's going to be, 300, 400 cards or so in the set. Now there's going to be a lot of reprints, but that also means that you still need some of the cards, right, to make the set. Plus, even with reprints, I mean, you still need a certain amount of boxes to be able to open all the cards and full play sets of everything, especially if you're a competitive player. I mean, you kind of need like certain URs, etc., regalias. So it's going to be a little bit rough out there. So for my patrons, right, I will address this first. Your Mortal Ambition boxes are fine. So for everybody who has already, but by the way, patrons, you've already been notified of this. You already know ahead of time that this has happened. This video is coming out after the fact, but I'm just kind of telling you in case you missed the posting verbally, here's what it is, right? If you pre-order with me in June, July, or even August, you're good. I've looked at the numbers. I think those can be met. At this point, I feel confident I can be able to ship all those to you, no problem, right? The issue, of course, becomes what happens to my patrons who ordered or will order in September and beyond. So first of all, like if you've ordered those, I think I've already messaged you. It's not very many of you in that range, but you are notified of like, hey, this is the situation. And then we'll figure out ways to do refunds or whatever to do that. And then beyond that, right, if you're looking to order this stuff in October, right before the release, unfortunately at this point, I have no more boxes to be able to sell. But patrons, who were patrons of mine, basically were able to get these boxes at $80 a box, right? And just whatever, $540 for the case, I think it was. No, $460? Yeah, $460, right? $460 for the case, $80 a box. Pretty good price, in my opinion. So everybody who, again, June, July, and August orders, you're fine. Your boxes will be shipped. I'm going to acquire them from secondary market, figure out a way to get the boxes for you if I'm still missing. Even if it's basically, honestly, it's going to be a little bit lost for me, like a little bit after the shipping, all that stuff. But it's fine. Like, again, things like this happen. I didn't expect this to be cut so deeply, but it's going to happen. That's fine. I will make sure your products are shipped. If you purchase products directly with me, right, so this is just other people who have reached out, not necessarily patrons, your products will also mostly be fine. Some of the larger orders, again, I've spoken to you already, and you're made aware that potentially there's some issues. Again, no problems there. I think everyone kind of understands, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, moving forward, of course, I am trying to acquire more boxes. I don't know if I can sell them to the patrons at $80 a box because that effectively is a loss for me, because even if I don't lose any money on the boxes, I'm losing time shipping. I'm also risking any issues like damages, loss, etc. So we may have to raise the prices for the patrons, but again, my first goal is to just make sure everybody who's already pre-ordered gets all their boxes that they're supposed to get, and that's my goal right now. Yeah. Anyways, that's that. If you still want a starter deck, though, we do have starter decks still left. I put up a new post on the Patreon for everybody who wants starter decks. Still a good way to get into the game and play the set, right? And for now, while we wait on our boxes, because we don't know where they are. Yeah, so the starter deck's $12, gets you a starter deck. I mean, you could buy it like the pair, you can buy any sets of them, whatever you want to do. Mix match, all you want to do that. Basically, made available to all patrons. I think I'm good on that one. That allocation did get cut a little bit as well, but it's not as big of a deal as the booster boxes, which is the bigger deal here, right? Okay, so what actually happened? Like, why did this happen, right? My kind of gut feeling, a lot of the falling is not going to be facts. These are going to be kind of hearsay and based on information I've gathered from distribution, from talking to other store owners, talking to other players, etc., figuring out exactly what happened here, right? There appears to be some sort of shortage of general across the board, and I'm saying it's across the board beyond just America. Now, you know, in other countries, of course, where Grand Archive is not as popular, maybe they're not feeling that pain as much because there's not a lot of products they're ordering anyways, right? But in America, where this game is growing very, very fast, there is definitely a shortage, and it's partially made possible because there's more and more stores ordering products every set, and this set has been very, very hype. Number two reason is because, of course, this set being set in Sanguo, very Asian focus. It's like a product that's really meant for the Asian market. Well, of course, this product has been shipped to Japan, which is a new market that Grand Archive has just opened since MRC, probably heavily bought in Taiwan, where literally the product is made. And of course, all of Southeast Asia, where the Sanguo story and the theme and the culture, the artwork, etc., is very it's very at home for the folks who live in those countries, right? And of course, US, just being that it's a bigger player base, will still order the same amount or generally the same amount. And of course, Australia, where another big hub of players is going to make their orders. And then the smaller batch of orders going to Europe. Again, every region seems to be growing, which is why the actual print run for this set is, I believe Sildar said it was 37,000 boxes, right? Which is a growth even beyond MRC, which I think was 27,500 boxes total printed for that set. So we'll see what happens. Right now, again, it's a general shortage. What I'm thinking, right, is that maybe there's a specific second print run or second wave of product coming later, right? And that's my guess as well, because the numbers kind of just don't add up. Even if we consider that it's, being sent into more regions, it doesn't make any sense that there's just no product left at all, right? Because again, it's a bigger print run, and even Sildar, looking at the numbers, said something like, hey, we believe the product will be just generally available all across the board for everybody, so stores don't have to go and buy a box or buy all the boxes now. They can just kind of throughout the season buy another box when they need it. That is definitely not what we're seeing at pre-order time. It could be, again, that Weebs is kind of holding back the stock inventory. Not sure. It's a good strategy, honestly, right? I've got to give them points for that if that's the idea here, but we're not sure, right? Nobody really knows, and that's the point. It's not really meant for us to know, because if we know, it's kind of like insider trading, it's problematic, right? So nobody actually knows the real issue here. What we can say is just across the board, everyone's getting numbers cut. Again, some of us more than others, right? And just smaller stores are getting cut usually harder than the bigger ones. And by smaller stores, I don't mean smaller size. I just mean you order less products through distribution. Now, remember, distributors are very relational, right? So they are very relationship based, which means if you order a lot of products, if you take a lot of the products that they normally don't want at a price, right, just because, then they're more likely to work with you because you've helped them in the past and now they're helping you, right? Kind of thing. If you build these relationships over time, if you have records with them, if you spend a lot of money with them specifically, then they're more likely to kind of give you these deals rather than other stores. So that's potentially why the larger stores were cut a little bit less or maybe not at all than smaller stores. right? Number two is just because specifically like larger stores generally will be ordering a lot more. So if they put an allocation number of, let's say, 500, 600 boxes, well, them being cut down to, let's say, I don't know, like 150, 200 boxes is not as bad as a smaller store that may have only put in 12 boxes, 18 boxes, 3 cases, right? And then got their numbers cut down to something like 5. I mean, the problem with something like 5 is that you may not be able to even meet the needs of your entire store because there's going to be players. 5 people come in, they each buy a box, you're done, right? You can't have price support. You don't have like, you're kind of just toast at that point. So that's another thing that to really consider, especially because it hurts the smaller stores more to have their numbers cut greatly, even if it's like a straight percentage flat across fair for everybody. But even that's not true, right? So again, larger stores usually get cut less than smaller stores. Again, we understand why that happens, but it kind of sucks for the smaller stores. Now, if you're a store and you have the option, go look at the other distributors. There's 3 in US, YY, PhD, and also Southern Hobby. Make sure you check out the inventory for all 3 rather than just looking at one. You may get luck out and be able to get more boxes from a different distributor, which is always possible, and it's a good idea to have kind of like your backup options here in this case. So if you have that, that's going to be great. Again, large stores, I've actually spoken to some stores that didn't get their allocation cut at all. Now, I'm not sure if that's because, these distributors are a little well equipped and they don't have a lot of like demand for the product, so they can supply everybody who pre-ordered, or it could be that, simply because they don't have the information yet. Now, my personal thinking is that Weebs isn't going to play favorites, right? So if every store, like if some store requests, let's say there's 3 distributors in America, right? If everybody requests, say, 5,000 boxes, that's going to be 15,000 boxes for all of America. That's a lot of boxes, right? And very likely Weeb's going to say, hey, we're not going to give you that many boxes. What we're going to give is, let's say, 70% of your allocation. So let's say they go back to the distributors and say, hey, instead of getting 5,000, you're going to get 3,500 or something, right? And then the distributor will have to figure out with their customers how they allocate that product across for all of them. That's basically how this works, right? So when people pre-order, when people pre-allocate, most of that are just requests all the way up. So people are just making requests. Like stores like us make a request to distributors who don't really know their numbers yet. They take all of the numbers together, usually add a little bit extra on top. That's just, for example, if there are issues, broken, whatever, right? Damages, etc. Then they send that number to the card games, Weebs, etc. Then Weebs or whatever card game then says, hey, what we're going to give you is this number. So everybody's kind of following this allocation level model up all the way up, right? Of course, the problem becomes if you have pre-ordered. I would highly recommend right now, if you have a pre-order, if you're a customer, if you have a pre-order, not a store, double check with your store, just make sure your pre-order is good and ask them, hey, did you check your allocation? Double check the allocation, make sure that you're not under allocated for what you've already pre-ordered. I fear is a lot of stores may have oversold for Mortal Ambition, which could be some problems for their customers, just FYI. Okay, to the last point here, Wave 2. Is Wave 2 possible? Is it in the stars? Now, my guess is talking to distributors, they did mention that Wave 2 is possible, and that is what they're asking me, for example, to kind of wait on. Now, of course, once Wave 2 comes out, that will make it like a little bit better. Supply will be a little bit more readily available for the entire market, and that's good. The unfortunate part is when and how many, right? So we could have a Wave 2, but Wave 2 could be like 1,000 boxes for all of America, which sounds like a lot of boxes, but honestly, it's not that many. Because if you consider how many stores are now selling Grand Archive, right, in America, that's quite a bit of stores, right? Maybe every store gets 2 boxes. It's insane. And then on the flip side of this too, so some of you guys have not noticed this, but I've noticed this, is that as Grand Archive is growing as a game and people are noticing, a lot of card shops are noticing, card shops that have never sold Grand Archive are picking up the game, right? And the ones that kind of gave up the game after FTC are re-picking up the game. So what this means is that the pressure, the supply, so demand pressure on distributors is going to be higher now, right? Every distributor is going to be like getting more requests for Grand Archive. So then when they need, to send their numbers to Weebs, they are looking at like, hey, how many do we actually need to send? How many, do we order, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So at this point, I do think there's got to be a wave 2, right? I mean, 37,000 boxes printed, but the way that, even before the product goes live, the pressure it feels right now to get any boxes is much higher than I would expect for effectively the largest print run of the game so far, right? So something to think about. Again, like for those that kind of are thinking through, what does that mean? What does it look like? That number of increase actually feels normal to me. It's not even really that much of an increase. And the reason for that is because, again, remember, game is growing. This set is larger, so we actually have to open more boxes to get all the cards of the set. It's not like MRC, it's not like FTC, the expansion set feeling. This is actually like a full set, which means, unfortunately, that just means we need to actually have more boxes available for the longevity. Also, we have some like big tournaments coming up, like Ascent Toronto, that's gonna actually need the cards like really, really soon. And we don't have those cards right now. So let's see what happens on October 11th on the release date and see like what stores can fulfill their orders, what stores are gonna be short, and let's kind of go from there. I think that's probably the best way to think through this. Yeah. Conclusion, a couple things, right? Number one, AMB, pretty rough for the first month is my prediction after release. I would expect a similar situations to MRC because, again, it's just if there's no supply, I mean, I don't know how you're going to get more products. Number two, single prices for AMB is going to be probably elevated for the first month as well. Again, if boxes are not available, if the pull rates are not what people expect, which we have not even talked about in this video, right? So remember what happened in MRC. People were expecting regalias to be the same pull rates as they were before, but they were not. They were very rare. In fact, I think MRC was tuned a little bit too much to the point where regalias were effectively like super rare or ultra rare. It's really hard to get them, right? That's what pushed like Shadowclaw to like $60, $70, $80 at release. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with AMB, but who knows what happens actually, right? Again, I'll keep an eye out, and let's all keep an eye out on Wave 2. So if Wave 2 does come in December, what it will be like? Like, is it going to be a lot of products? Will there be potentially another wave that, let's call it Wave 1A, right? Maybe this is the whole thing, right? The idea here is that we're going to do a pre-release. Essentially, October 11th is the pre-release. Product is very tight for, let's say, 2 weeks. And then suddenly we have more products. I don't think that's true, but I don't know, because I think it's normal to cut the allocation a little bit, right? Just to kind of make it feel like it's hard to get. The problem right now is I've never seen cuts of this drastic nature until now, right? So, I mean, everybody's getting their allocation numbers cut. It's pretty insane at what's happening here. And then, of course, patrons, like, I'll keep you updated if I can source any more boxes, if there's Wave 2, etc. I will put an order list out there for you. And if you guys are not patrons, of course, you can join $15 a month, which covers shipping, right? And of course, I ship all across America, $15 a month. And then you can order up to a case a month. That's the current offer. I probably have to open a new patron tier. There are some patrons who've been asking about like, hey, what if I want more than a case a month, like a bigger tier? So maybe we'll consider opening up something bigger for those patrons. We'll see what happens, right? But again, currently, that's just the things I'm offering with what I can ship. Of course, you can find me also on, TCG Player, eBay, etc., other places too, and locally, right? All right, let's hope this situation is not as bad as it feels right now. I am really hoping I'm just overreacting. I'm hoping all this stuff just kind of blows over. It's not as bad as it feels, but something in my gut tells me that I'm probably right about this. So that's going to do it for me for today. I'm Mark from SolarGames. Good luck out there with Mortal Ambition. Have fun, and I'll see you next time. Stay classy.